to the Voices for Victory podcast. I'm your host, Heather Burns. Today, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are speaking to Sarah Hanson Citron, who is a wife and mother, as well as co-founder and COO of Bricoleur Vineyards in beautiful Sonoma, California. Early this year, Sarah was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer at age 32. She's currently in treatment and is here to share her cancer journey with us and to tell us why self-advocacy is so important. Sarah, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.
And we'll get to your project a little bit later because I know you want to talk about that too, but I'm just going to tease that a little bit. But first, can you tell me about yourself and your family?
Yeah. Like you said, my name's Sarah Citron. I'm 33 years old now. But I co-own a winery with my parents in Sonoma, California. I was born and raised in Northern California, grew up going to Sonoma my entire childhood, and always kind of imagined, my parents always imagined retiring up here and living up here at some point in our life. And they bought a property and wanted help kind of building a brand around this property with doing corporate events, charity events, and wine tastings. And so I got involved with them in 2017, starting with the branding of the company, naming the company, doing all the marketing. And then it's kind of spiraled into me being the COO and overseeing marketing, events, hospitality, culinary, and the day-to-day business of Bricoleur.
That's so cool. I mean, it's such a, I don't know, it's so interesting to get into something like that for your parents as is it kind of a retirement project for them or?
It's a pre-retirement project for them. They are not retired, but they always knew when they retired, they would never be able to sit still. So they wanted to do something that brought joy to them. And it started with, a small, maybe open a bed and breakfast where we can do corporate and charity events at it. And then it kind of turned into a bigger vision. And I never really imagined being a part of it. But since they had me a part of it the whole time, it kind of turned into, well, I want to help build this with you and create this company and brand that I've become so passionate about.
Now you have a husband and a daughter. Are they involved with the vineyard as well?
My husband is not, but he is a consumer of wine and food here. He likes to be involved in the testing of all of our tastings that we roll out. So it's always fun that he can slightly be involved. And then my daughter is 2.5. So you will see her running around the vineyard Monday through Friday, and on the weekends, she does go table to table and kind of feeds the chickens and the swans and finds any kids that are on our property. So she doesn't work here yet, but she is our little brand ambassador.
What a childhood. She gets to be outside with nature all the time. That's amazing.
Lucky, for sure.
So what is the significance of the name? Because I saw the name and I was like, oh, what does that mean?
Yeah. Naming a brand is extremely tough. You run into a lot of trademarking issues. And we wanted to come up with a name that didn't have any of our last names, since my mom never took my dad's last name. My dad has his own last name. And then I'm married with a new last name, that it was a little difficult to kind of figure out a family name that we wanted to use. But we always wanted a meaning of building something and bringing things together, kind of like patchwork or just creating a whole. So as we are looking for names, my husband actually found the name Bricoleur, which in French has multiple meanings. It's someone who's like a handyman that builds something with whatever they can find. The definition that we found was someone who starts building something without a clear plan, cobbling together a whole while flying by the seat of their pants. And we kind of, when we found that definition, we laughed and we're like, this project that we have created had one vision, and it keeps changing and escalating and getting bigger and bigger to create a whole. And you're always in life flying by the seat of your pants in a way, that we just really connected with it. And a lot of our club members, when they read the definition, they're like, story of my life, like things just happen and you roll with it, and good, bad, but it kind of, if you don't fly by the seat of your pants in life in some way, like different things will happen from it.
Yeah. And that's entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So you I guess, did you acquire the land and then kind of create the vineyard, or was it kind of already there and you built it up?
Our property at Bricoleur in Windsor already had 40 acres of Chardonnay and Pinot planted and grape contracts. It was a retired horse farm on top of the vineyard. So we fully transformed the property to be a tasting room with a location for events. So it started as selling grapes and then turned into us making our first vintage in 2017. And then we now make 15 different varietals of wine this coming year.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've been there for about 6 years then. So tell me about last year and what happened with what led to your breast cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. So I guess what led to my diagnosis was my husband and I were discussing having a second child. Our daughter's 2.5. So we're like, we should probably think about baby number 2. And I had an IUD in, so I got it taken out. And shortly after I got it taken out, I found a lump in my armpit. I've always been extremely cystic. I had my first mammogram at 18 years old. I'm very aware of my body. I had a mammogram in 2021 after I had my daughter and I was done breastfeeding, because I get them regularly to just make sure my cysts are just cysts and nothing more. So when I found the lump in my armpit, I knew I've never had one in my armpit, but I also just wanted to monitor it because I know hormones can make your body fluctuate. So I monitored it. I didn't have a primary care doctor in Sonoma County, so I was trying to get a primary care doctor to get it checked out. And it's very hard to get a doctor these days, or a doctor's appointment. So it took me about 4-ish months to get a primary care doctor. And I had to go in San Francisco because that was the earliest I can get one in San Francisco. And when I went, they kind of were like, it's probably nothing. You're very cystic. Like, let's just get it checked out. But like, you're young and like cystic. So like, it's probably nothing. And then I went and got an ultrasound and they're like, it looks like nothing, but like, again, we'll do a mammogram. And then something showed up in the mammogram that they said just looked a little off. But again, I'm young and cystic, so it was probably nothing. And then they did a biopsy. And then 2 days later, April 10th of this year, they called me on my way to work and asked if I can chat and told me that I had breast cancer.
Were you by yourself?
I was in the car with my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
On my block, headed to work, and they said, do you have time to talk? And obviously at that point, doctors don't call you to talk for good news. And they said, we can either chat or you can pull over, or I can call them back. And so I just pulled over on the side of the road and they told me. And then I had to, tell my husband and my parents and try to navigate next steps and what that means, and not knowing what that means, because you have to do a lot more tests to figure it out.
And I'm sure your mom instinct kicked in, okay, I can't be too upset in front of my daughter and I got to get there. And
Yeah. Especially, at 2.5, they don't, understand emotions. When you're upset, they get upset. And so just trying to shield her from crying or being upset, because I don't want her to feed off of my energy.
Of course, of course. So you arrived at work and just kind of like pulled everybody into your office and just kind of let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
Were you able to get into the hospital pretty fast after that?
Yes, I was able. So as soon as I got the call, actually my dad emailed the V Foundation because we just did an event with you guys a month prior on our property. And we knew that we didn't know what was going on, but we knew that we could lean on you guys to kind of connect us with the best people to work with and still go through my doctor that I had at the time until we kind of figured out what type of cancer, like what stage, what treatment and all of that. So it moved fairly quickly. The following like 3 weeks, I pretty much had doctor's appointments every single week to try to figure out staging, treatment plan, IVF to preserve eggs and embryos, since they knew I would need chemotherapy, and chemotherapy affects your fertility rate. So just everything moved extremely quickly from April 10th through May is when I started my clinical trial.
Wow. Okay. So you have done chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Is that correct? Or have you done surgery yet?
I have. So I did all the prep work. So I had like 6 biopsies, 3 MRIs. I did 1 round of IVF, all in March and beginning of April. And then I was supposed to start a clinical trial, the I-SPY clinical trial in mid-April, but the week before, they decided that wasn't the right clinical trial for me. So then I started I-SPY 2 endocrine therapy mid-April, which was a 3-month clinical trial where I take a pill form of chemotherapy that is attacks your hormones and your cancer cells. And I did the pill form of chemotherapy plus medically induced menopause from May until August. And the clinical trial worked, and I had 42% of my cancer had shrunk, and they knew my body was responding to the drug and that the drug was working. But because my cancer is also in my lymph nodes and has traveled from my breast to my lymph nodes, they knew, regardless of the results of the clinical trial, that I would still need 20 weeks of chemotherapy, along with surgery and radiation. So I ended my clinical trial in August, and I began infusion chemotherapy with Taxol at the end of August. And so this week on Wednesday, I have my 7th round of chemo.
Okay. So you did the pill form first, and now you're doing kind of IV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a port placed. I'm doing the IV chemo. I'm also cold capping. So I'm trying to preserve my hair.
What's that process? Can you tell us a little bit about cold capping and what that is?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a love-hate relationship with cold capping. If I didn't do it, I would be bald by now. They said I probably would have lost all my hair after the 2nd or 3rd treatment. But currently, every single time I go in for infusion chemo, I wear, it kind of looks like a space helmet where they freeze your hair follicles 45 minutes before they give you the chemo, the entire time during the chemo, and then 2 to 3 hours post chemo. And it's supposed to freeze your roots of your hair follicles. So then the chemo doesn't go to the roots and kill them off and damage them.
Okay. So it temporarily freezes them as the chemo is going in.
Yeah. It's frozen before the chemo, and then it's frozen with the chemo, and then it's frozen post chemo. So as it circulates your body, it kind of like doesn't go up to the roots of your hair, since it affects all nerve endings. It affects your head, your fingers, your toes. And that's like where neuropathy comes in. But it has been working. I've had a lot of shedding, but I don't have any bald spots. It is a very long process. It's not the most comfortable. They're freezing your head. So it is uncomfortable. It is expensive and insurance doesn't cover it. So I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do it. And it makes it extremely long. I'm there for like 6 hours. And then when I start AC, I'll probably be there for like 8 hours. So it's a long day. But for me and my daughter, like me looking normal going through all of this, is extremely important because she is so reactionary. She freaks out with my port already. And she just doesn't get it. At 2 years, she knows something's wrong, but she doesn't know what. And she's too young to explain it. So the longer I can go without losing my hair, the better. And if I do lose my hair, I lose my hair, and I'm not going to be upset about it. But I kind of just want to keep as much normalcy for her as possible.
Yeah. I'm going in mom mode, of course.
Yeah.
Totally. So you mentioned your clinical trial, I Spy 2. Can you tell me like how you heard about the trial or how you were able to get connected?
Yeah. So, again, a month before I got diagnosed, we had an event at Bricoleur, for Sonoma Epicurean for the V Foundation. The next day after the event, my parents were invited by the team to go to one of the seminars. And it was actually the I Spy clinical trial seminar about breast cancer. And then a month later, I got diagnosed. And my parents had no idea I had a lump or anything. And when I got diagnosed at Sutter, my oncologist at Sutter, when I met with him, he was like, Sutter doesn't handle this clinical trial, but I think you'd be an amazing candidate for it. And I'm going to submit you to the I Spy program. And once he said I Spy, my parents are like, we went to that seminar. So then they also emailed the V Foundation and asked, can they put us in contact with someone at UCSF? Because they offer the clinical trial. And then it kind of spiraled from there. So very grateful for all the random connections that led us to.
Is it random? You know what I mean?
I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And it's weird energy that they went to the seminar a month before I got diagnosed and that I got put into that clinical trial that they learned about. It happened, and I'm grateful that, I had the resources.
Yeah. Yeah. What a blessing. So you've been, you started this journey in March. Is that when?
It was diagnosed April 10th.
April. Okay. Yeah. So it's been a few months. Obviously you're not at the other end yet. But as you go through your journey, do you have any advice for other women, especially young women that have been diagnosed with cancer?
I would say ask as many questions, and, if there is something that you want to learn more about, don't rush it. I know, take your health seriously and get the help and get a program that you feel confident in. And if you feel confident in all of your providers and all of your oncologist and surgeon and all of that, it makes the process so much not easier, but I trust my team and I trust that they are making decisions that are best for me as a 33-year-old young mom. I constantly ask my oncologist, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And I met so many people that their doctors have told them that they shouldn't do IVF and preserve their eggs because it puts them at risk. And then they lose that ability to have kids their own kids in the future. So I would say just ask questions that are best for you and the life that you want to live, because it's not just like a year of recovery, it's a lifetime. I just think you don't want to, because you are younger, you're going to have to live with every decision that you make. So really think about the decisions that you want to make that are best for you.
Yeah. And going back to before you were diagnosed and you not sure if you had cancer, you had cysts in the past. Is there anything you would do different, or is there anything you want to tell young women who haven't been diagnosed but are kind of not sure what's going on?
I mean, I think if you have symptoms and you feel like something's off, like continue to push your doctors. You know, it's sad. And I say this all the time, like it's sad that young women have to really advocate for themselves and are dismissed a little bit more because statistically they're not in the age bracket of getting cancer or breast cancer, even though studies show like more people in their 30s are getting breast cancer and they're going undiagnosed longer because they are not within the age group. So if you're fatigued or you feel like something's off in your body, it like push for that doctor's appointment. Don't just keep putting it off. Like I wish, I pushed to get my appointment in November and December instead of April, because I couldn't find anyone who would take me. I wish I pushed a little bit harder, because maybe my stage would be a little less. Maybe it wouldn't have traveled to multiple lymph nodes. I mean, you can always do what if, but I would just say, like, if you feel like something's wrong, like just, your body better than any doctor out there. So just, you got to speak for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you can't really second guess yourself, but and you did everything that you thought you could do. And the fact that you're doing, I mean, ladies, do your self breast exams. I'm not good at doing them. So the fact that you were doing that and you were being proactive, you knew, is awesome. And I hope that, I do think that young women are like, that would never happen to me. I'm only, 30 years old, and you don't really think about it, but it does. So,
it really does. And I think, in high school, they should be teaching young women and men to do breast exams and really encourage them to again, know their body and know what's normal, what's not normal. When something new appears, ask questions. My doctor growing up, he taught me how to do a breast exam in high school. And that's how I knew I had cystic breast. And he pushed me to get a mammogram at 18, which doctors don't do. And they think that's very odd. And I'm grateful that he's retired now, but I'm grateful that I had a doctor that taught me all the skills to know to find if something doesn't feel normal. Because I've spoken to a lot of our employees, a lot of friends, they don't know how to do breast exams. They've asked their doctors, and their doctors have said, you don't need to worry about that until you're in your 40s. Which, I think everyone should know how to do a breast exam regardless of age.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I know you're still going through it, but how has going through this changed you? Or has it changed you?
I mean, it will definitely change, it's definitely changed my life right now and affected my day to day and messed up my routine for sure. I'm still trying to figure out, obviously this will change me forever. And I am in menopause at 33 years old. Never thought I would be in menopause. It's changed our family growth plan for now. It's changed, our future. I'm still trying to figure out how it's changed me and how to not let it take over my life, even though it's going to take over my life, the rest of my life, and how to use it as this sucks right now and it's going to suck, but to build something good around it, I guess.
And you are building something good.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It's always, it's always going to affect me, but I think now like it's giving me a new thing to fight for. And, I'm a firm believer that everyone should kind of be open with what's going on in their life, because you never know how it's going to affect someone else who's in a similar situation. And, I don't wish breast cancer on any 30-year-old or 20-year-old. But I think the more people that know people that are going through it, the less alone they'll feel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's affected me a lot. I can't really articulate how it's affected me.
I'll ask you in a year.
Yeah. I'm still like in it. So like, like I have chemo in 2 days. So it affects me where I have 2 good work days and then the rest are bad, and I'm in bed and trying to juggle mom, career woman, cancer patient, wife. All of the above is something I'm still figuring out.
And I'm guessing that before this, you probably didn't like to ask for help, because we moms never do.
I'm not good at asking for help. I'm not good at taking care of myself. I like to take care of everyone above myself. It's something I'm trying to use this time to, I'm my priority. My husband says I should be number 1 on my list, and then everything else comes below. So it's not something I'm used to doing, but I'm really trying to listen to my body, listen to my mind. When I have a good day, do what I want to do. If that's hang out with my daughter, if that's go to work, like do what's going to mentally make me feel good during this time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a good approach, I think.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us about what you're doing this month with Sip with Purpose?
Yeah. So this month we are launching a campaign, and it's actually going to be a year-round campaign. But for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are launching our Sip with Purpose campaign. So our Isla Rose Sparkling Rosé is actually named after my daughter. We launched it on her first birthday. And I always wanted to tie it to a philanthropic or a charity, and just have like a greater mission behind it, because I wanted it to focus on like women or entrepreneurship or, like the future, because it's about my daughter and her growing up. And when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, it seemed like a natural fit to have it tie to cancer research, because that really is the future of everyone, and trying to find a cure and a way that everyone can live a long, successful, healthy life. And then also World Cancer Day is actually my daughter's birthday on February 4th. So again, it kind of just felt kismic that we tied the Isla Rose Sparkling Rosé to the Sip with Purpose campaign. So $5 of every bottle purchase is going to go to cancer research. And then any case purchase, as a family, we're going to double it. So our goal is to, just raise awareness of cancer research and all the good that it does. And, without it, my clinical trial would not be here. And I would not know that that's an option. And in the future, I hope that the drug that I was on is available to everyone, because it would allow people not to go through infusion chemotherapy and shrink their cancer and kill their cancer through a pill, which, is amazing. But I really, it's about just advocating for yourself and fighting for the future of, having answers in the world of cancer. And everyone's been affected by cancer. That's why we don't want this campaign to just be October. October is kicking it off. But, I have no history of cancer in my family, or I have no genetic mutations of cancer in my family, but my grandma died of pancreatic cancer. We have family friends that have had breast cancer. We have family friends that have had brain cancer. Everyone is affected by someone in their life having cancer, and finding a cure I think should be super important to everyone, because more young people are getting diagnosed too, which, if we can find solutions so I can live 50 plus more years and everyone else can, I think that would be great.
Awesome. And that kind of answered my question on why cancer research is important. And it really is. And so thank you for doing this. I think every little bit helps. And the fact that you can use your business to raise money for cancer is awesome. And your wine is amazing. And so people could get the benefit of the wine as well.
Yeah.
So funny. I went to the wine celebration last August. First time I've been out to Napa Valley or in California wine country at all. And, I was always like, I'm not really a big wine drinker. And then I went and realized I love good wine. I was like, oh, I know what I've been doing wrong this whole time. I've been drinking cheap wine.
Yeah. There's some good cheap wine, but when you have good wine, it definitely it's a game changer.
Well, we really appreciate doing this, especially with everything you've got going on, and we're thinking about you and wishing you well. So one more question that we ask everybody this, because it's personal to everybody, but what does victory over cancer mean to you?
I think it means that, there are cures for all types of cancer, and even stage 4 cancer, which, I can't imagine if I was diagnosed with stage 4, and just being able to, people who are diagnosed with cancer, being able to live a long, happy life, and feel like they're heard, and that the decisions that are being made about their treatment plan are the best for each individual patient. No patient should, I should not be compared to someone in their 70s being diagnosed with breast cancer. Every patient should be treated individually and should have a different treatment plan based off of the life that they want to live. So I think being able to, everyone survives cancer, and then everyone gets the treatment plan that's best for them, and they feel happy and heard throughout the whole process.
Love it. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess the last thing is that we're going to make sure we put a link to the fundraiser. For everybody to see, and everybody visit and have some wine.
Yeah. And anyone who visits in October too, we're donating our ticket sales and a portion of the tasting to cancer research as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we will, I hope to see you in the spring for the Sonoma event. I'm hoping I get to go. I didn't get to go last year, so I'm hoping to go this year. But thank you so much, Sarah. It was so great meeting you.